My name is Laura Jordan. I'm 31 years old. 3 days after my husband burned to death in our house fire, I stood on my parents' porch desperately holding my 3.5-year-old son, his left arm and chest still raw with burn scars. My mother looked straight at Tyler's wounds and said with pure disgust, "You can come home, but not with that black child and his disgusting scars." My father stared at my son's face and spat. "He's not one of our kind. We're not wasting a single dollar fixing some mixed kid who isn't even really ours." Then he slammed the door in our faces while Tyler cried in pain. What I didn't know was that my father had been waiting for this exact moment for 3.5 years. 60 seconds later, the neighbor opened her door and whispered the words that changed everything. "Your parents didn't just reject you today. They've been planning this for years." And what she revealed next didn't just break me. It gave me the one thing they never expected. The proof that would destroy them. Welcome back to Revenger episodes. This is where real victims fight back, families get exposed, and justice is finally served. If this story speaks to you, drop a comment and be sure to subscribe. The fire started at 11:47 p.m. on January 28th, 2026. I know the exact time because I heard the smoke alarm and looked at my phone before I grabbed Tyler. James was already moving. He yelled for me to get Tyler out, that he'd call 911 and follow us. I wrapped Tyler in his blanket and ran for the front door. The heat was massive. Tyler was screaming. I used my body to shield him as we pushed through the smoke. We made it to the lawn. I set Tyler down and turned back. James was in the doorway, phone in hand. Then I heard it. The sound I'll never forget. The floor collapsed underneath him. The firefighters pulled me back when I tried to go in after him. Tyler was still screaming. My hands were burned from where I'd touched the doorframe. Tyler's left arm and chest had second-degree burns from the heat, even through the blanket. James never came out. At the hospital, they treated Tyler's burns. 18% of his body surface area. The plastic surgeon explained that burn scars tighten as they heal. Tyler would need physical therapy immediately, and possibly surgery within 4 to 6 months. Without intervention, his arm mobility could be permanently reduced by 30 to 40%. I was wearing borrowed hospital scrubs. Everything we owned had burned. I had $319 in my checking account and a 3.5-year-old with injuries that required ongoing care I couldn't afford. So I called my parents. "Mom?" My voice cracked. "We need help, please." There was a pause. Then, "Come to the house." 2 days later, on January 31st, I stood on their porch. Tyler was wrapped in a blanket the hospital had given us, his bandaged arm visible. He was shivering. All our belongings fit in 2 plastic hospital bags. My mother opened the door. She saw Tyler and her face changed. My father appeared behind her. He looked at Tyler's arm, at his face, and his expression went cold. "We're not running a homeless shelter, Lara," my father said. "Dad, please. Tyler needs—" "That child," my mother interrupted, looking at Tyler's burns with disgust. "He's not—" "Dennis, tell her." "He's not one of our kind," my father said flatly. "You made your choice when you married that man. We're not wasting a single dollar fixing some mixed kid who isn't even really ours." Tyler started crying. "Mommy, why won't they let us in? I'm cold." "You can come home," my mother said, not looking at me. "But not with that black child and his disgusting scars." Then my father closed the door. I heard the deadbolt slide. I stood there on their porch, holding my burned son, with nowhere to go. Neighbors' lights were turning on. Tyler was still crying. Then I heard a voice behind me. "Come inside." I turned. The woman who lived across the street, Ruth Callahan, I'd known her my whole childhood, was standing in her doorway, backlit, gesturing urgently. We crossed the street. Ruth brought us into her kitchen, made hot chocolate for Tyler, wrapped him in an Afghan blanket, and set him up with cartoons in the living room. Then she turned to me, and her face was grave. "I need to tell you something about your father," she said quietly. "I've been waiting years for the right moment. I think that moment just happened." She pulled out her phone and opened a voice memo. The timestamp read, January 31st, 7:42 p.m., 20 minutes before I'd arrived. I heard my father's voice through the speaker. "She'll be here soon." "No, I'm not helping. Because this is exactly what I've been waiting for. She'll be desperate enough in a week." Ruth stopped the recording. "Your parents didn't just reject you today, Lara. They've been planning this for years." I stared at her. "Planning what?" She pulled a manila folder from a kitchen drawer. "I started documenting 6 months ago. Your father's been having money problems. Bad ones? I've seen a loan shark visit twice. And 3 weeks ago, I overheard him on the phone talking about the insurance payout and timing." My hands started shaking. "What insurance?" "Your husband's life insurance," Ruth said. "Dennis has been waiting for something like this. A disaster big enough to make you need them. And now, they have leverage." Tyler called from the living room. "Mommy, can we stay here tonight?" I looked at Ruth. She nodded. "Of course, sweetheart." But as I tucked Tyler in on Ruth's couch that night, his burned arm carefully positioned on a pillow, I kept thinking about what she'd said. Waiting for this. My father had looked at my son's injuries and seen an opportunity. I just didn't know yet how deep it went. Ruth let us stay one night, but her daughter was visiting the next day. She gave me $200 cash and the name of a cheap motel. The roadside inn cost $65 a night. I booked it for 3 nights. That's all I could afford. Tyler's bandages needed changing. Ruth had shown me how at the hospital, but my hands shook as I unwrapped his arm. The burns looked angry, raw. He whimpered but didn't cry. He'd learned not to cry as much. That hurt more than if he'd screamed. "It's okay, buddy," I whispered. "We're going to fix this." But I had no idea how. I called my boss at the dental office where I worked as a hygienist. I'd been gone for 4 days. She was sympathetic but firm. They couldn't hold my position. HR required 48 hours notice for emergencies. This was day 4. I lost my job on February 2nd. My health insurance would end February 28th. That same afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Mrs. Bennett, this is Sharon from United Benefit Life Insurance. We received your claim for your husband's policy. There's a complication we need to discuss." My stomach dropped. James had life insurance through his union job. I'd filed the claim from the hospital. "What complication?" "There's a co-beneficiary situation," Sharon said carefully. "In December 2023, your husband filed paperwork adding Dennis Jordan as a secondary beneficiary. The policy splits 50-50 between primary and secondary if certain conditions are met." "What conditions?" "If the primary beneficiary is deemed unable to manage funds. Mr. Jordan contacted us yesterday. He's filed a claim stating that you're currently unable to manage the funds due to mental health crisis and housing instability. He's requesting the full payout be placed in a managed trust with him as trustee." I sat down on the motel bed. Tyler was in the bathroom, playing with plastic cups from the coffee station. "I never agreed to any of this," I said. "We have documentation with both signatures," Sharon said. "Yours as witness." "I never signed anything." There was a long pause. "Mrs. Bennett, you should also know. Mr. Jordan mentioned he's filing for emergency guardianship of your minor child. That would strengthen his case for trust management." After she hung up, I sat there trying to remember. December 2023. We'd gone to my parents' house for Christmas dinner. It had been awkward. They'd barely acknowledged Tyler. My father had pulled James aside for a financial advice talk. I remembered James coming home with paperwork. "Your dad suggested we add a contingency beneficiary." just in case something happens and you can't handle the money right away. Grief can make people irrational, he said. James had meant well. He'd asked me to sign something while I was cooking dinner, and Tyler was having a tantrum. I'd scribbled my signature without reading it. December 18th, 2023. My father had planned this 18 months before the fire. He didn't cause the fire, but he'd been ready for any disaster. I went back to Ruth's house the next day, showed her the insurance information. She nodded grimly. I need to show you something else. She opened her laptop and pulled up a document, a timeline with dates and observations. September 2025, late night visitor, black Escalade, plates 8RN429. Heard the word interest. October 2025, Pauline crying on porch at 2 a.m. Dennis yelling inside. November 2025. Dennis asked me if I knew any lawyers, hypothetically about debt. Your father gambles, Ruth said. I don't know how much, but I've seen things. And 6 months ago, a man in an expensive car showed up late at night. They argued on the porch. Your father looked scared. She showed me more notes. Dates my mother had borrowed mail from my old mailbox when I still lived at home before marriage. Strange phone calls to the county office where my mother worked. Lara, honey, Ruth said gently. If your father's in serious financial trouble and there's $250,000 with his name on it, he's not going to let go of that money. And if you're in the way... She didn't finish. She didn't have to. On February 5th, I took Tyler to his first physical therapy appointment. The therapist, Amanda, was gentle, but the exercises made Tyler scream. The scar tissue was already forming, pulling tight. I know it hurts, buddy, but we have to do this, Amanda said. She explained Tyler needed therapy 3 times a week. With insurance, $40 per session. Without insurance, $180 per session. I'd lost my job. My insurance ended in 3 weeks. I had $11 left. At the checkout desk, they asked for my insurance card. I gave it to them. Ma'am, your insurance isn't showing active. It should be active until the end of February. The woman checked again. It shows terminated on February 2nd. Your employer must have processed it early. I stood there, Tyler's hand in mine, looking at a bill for $40 I couldn't pay. The woman saw my face. We can set up a payment plan, she said quietly. In the parking lot, Tyler asked, Mommy, why did that hurt so much? Because you're healing, I said. It hurts now, but it'll get better. Promise? I looked at his arm, the bandages, the way he couldn't straighten it fully anymore. I promise, I said. But I didn't know if I could keep that promise. That night at the motel, after Tyler fell asleep clutching his stuffed rabbit Hoppy, a gift from James, singed in the fire but intact, I looked at my phone. $183 in my account. Tyler needed surgery by late May or early June at the latest. The surgery would cost $12,300, and my father, who had engineered the situation, was waiting for me to break. I didn't know it then, but I only had 4 days before the real attack started. The call came on February 6th at 10:42 a.m. Mrs. Bennett, this is Clarice Washington from Child Protective Services. We've received a concerning report regarding your son, Tyler. We need to schedule a home visit within 24 hours. My stomach dropped. What report? I can't give details over the phone, but there are allegations of medical neglect and unsafe housing. I need your current address. I looked around the motel room. Tyler was eating cereal at the small table. The room was clean, but it was still a motel. I'm staying at the roadside inn temporarily, I said. Room 12, but I'm not neglecting Tyler. He's been to every medical appointment. We'll discuss it tomorrow, Clarice said. 10 a.m. After she hung up, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. Tyler looked up. Mommy, who was that? Just someone who wants to meet you, I said, to make sure you're okay. He smiled. I am okay. But he wasn't. His arm was getting tighter every day. Clarice arrived the next morning with a police officer. Standard procedure, she said, but it made Tyler hide behind me. She inspected the motel room, checked Tyler's bandages, asked questions. Then she pulled out a tablet. "I'm going to show you the photos that were submitted with the report," she said. "Can you explain these?" She turned the screen. 7 photos of Tyler's burns. Raw, fresh, taken in the hospital right after the fire. But the report context claimed these were current conditions, proof I was refusing treatment. "Those are from the hospital," I said. "The day of the fire. Tyler's burns looked worse then." "The report claims these are current." "That's a lie. Who filed this report?" "It was filed anonymously," Clarice said, "by someone claiming to be a concerned family member." She read from the report. "I visited my daughter and grandson on February 1st. The child has severe burn injuries that are not being properly cared for. Bandages appear unchanged for days. Mother seems mentally unstable, talking about money problems and showing signs of depression. Child is living in a motel. I fear for this child's safety." "I haven't seen my mother since the night of the fire," I said. "She refused to help us." "The report was filed anonymously, Mrs. Bennett." The police officer spoke quietly. "Ma'am, does your father work in insurance?" "Yes. Why?" The report included very specific language about failure to maintain adequate coverage and abandonment of continuity of care. That's insurance industry terminology. Clarice explained they were opening an investigation, not removing Tyler today, but I was under scrutiny. I needed to maintain stable housing, provide proof of all medical appointments, allow home visits. "Any missed appointments will be considered evidence of neglect," she said. "Do you understand?" "Yes." After they left, I found an envelope slipped under the motel door. Inside was a photocopy of the CPS report. A post-it note in my mother's handwriting. "This is just the beginning. You can make this easy or hard." On February 10th, I took Tyler to the plastic surgeon for his assessment. Dr. Reynolds examined Tyler's arm. "I'd hoped aggressive PT might avoid surgery," he said. "But given the severity, surgery is likely necessary. The question is when." He showed me photos, diagrams. The scar tissue was contracting faster than expected. By late May or early June, it would restrict Tyler's arm mobility by 40%. The surgery would cost $12,300. "Tyler's young, which is good. He'll heal well," Dr. Reynolds said, "but we need to operate by early June at the absolute latest. After that, we're looking at more extensive reconstruction." "And if I can't afford it by then?" Dr. Reynolds paused. "Mrs. Bennett, I have to ask. Tyler's listed as having guardian involvement in his chart. Is there a reason for that?" I called the hospital records department. Yes, there was a note added, February 8th. Father Dennis Jordan listed as co-guardian for medical decisions per court filing. I called the county courthouse. "Yes, ma'am, petition for emergency guardianship, case number FC-2026-1893, filed by Dennis Jordan. You should have received notice by certified mail." "I didn't receive anything." Shows here it was sent to 428 Maple Street. That was my parents' address. I don't live there. "Well, that's the address on file for you, ma'am." My mother worked at the county clerk's office. She had access to change address records. The court date was February 25th. If I didn't show up, I'd lose by default. I drove to my parents' house while they were at work. Their mailbox had certified mail notices, torn open, then shoved back in. I grabbed them. Inside, court summons for February 25th. The envelope had been opened 5 days ago. They'd known for 5 days that I'd been officially served. I'd just found out today. I was standing there holding the papers when my phone rang. Ruth's voice. "Lara, where are you?" Outside my parents' house. Get out of there. Now. Your father just drove past my house. He's coming home early. I ran to my car. As I drove away, I saw my father's car turn onto the street in my rearview mirror. That night, I couldn't sleep. Tyler was restless, his arm hurting. I gave him children's Tylenol and held his good hand until he finally dozed off. Then I sat on the motel bed and looked at the court summons. My father hadn't just rejected us. He'd filed legal paperwork to take my son while I was still in shock from losing my husband. And he'd done it knowing exactly what buttons to push in the system: CPS, courts, medical records. He'd worked in insurance for 30 years. He knew how investigations worked. He was using that knowledge to destroy me. What I didn't know yet was that the bank attack was coming in 6 days, and it would be the thing that almost broke me. On Valentine's Day, February 14th, my debit card was declined at the gas station. I called the bank. My account was frozen due to a fraud investigation. Someone had filed a report claiming I'd stolen $2,800 from them. Mr. Dennis Jordan provided documentation showing transfers from a joint account he shares with his wife to your account over the past year. The fraud investigator said, "He claims these were unauthorized." "Those were loans," I said. "He offered to help with Tyler's preschool costs." "Do you have any paperwork documenting these as loans?" "No, he's my father. I trusted him." "Without documentation, we have to investigate. 7 to 10 business days?" I had $6.23 in my wallet. Tyler's physical therapy appointment was in 2 hours. The hospital was 12 miles away. I couldn't get there. I called the PT office to cancel. The receptionist's voice went cold. "Mrs. Bennett, this is your second cancellation. Per office policy, we'll need to discharge Tyler from care if there's one more missed appointment without 24-hour notice." I walked to Ruth's house, 2.3 miles with Tyler complaining the whole way. Ruth opened the door, saw us, and pulled us inside immediately. She gave me gas money and loaned me $300. Then she showed me something new. "My friend from church works at the bank branch where your parents have accounts," Ruth said. "She can't share details, but she told me to be careful. She said Dennis Jordan is in serious financial trouble." She looked worried when she said it. Ruth had been organizing everything: CPS case numbers, court summons, hospital bills, PT schedules. She'd created a timeline, color-coded folders, military precision. "I've been calling in favors," she said. "I have a friend who's a family law attorney, pro bono work. She'll see you tomorrow." The attorney's name was Carmen Reyes. She was in her 40s, sharp, with no patience for bullshit. She reviewed all my documents. Her face got progressively grimmer. "Here's what they've built," Carmen said. "You're homeless, jobless, under CPS investigation, and missing medical appointments. They're positioning themselves as stable, concerned grandparents stepping in during a crisis. The judge will see financial stability versus a struggling widow in a motel." She made a list. Get bank records showing loans, not theft. Get PT appointment records. Get CPS worker statement. Get evidence of parents' racist rejection. Get proof of financial motives. Then she asked, "You said your mother works at the county clerk's office. Has she had access to your documents?" "Yes. She helped me with paperwork after Tyler was born." Carmen's face fell. "We need to check something right now." She made calls, ran searches. 20 minutes later, she had answers. My address had been changed in county records to my parents' house on February 2nd, the day after they rejected me. My mother's user ID had made the change. But it got worse. My name showed up on 3 parking tickets from December 2025, issued in a city I'd never visited. Vehicle registration: a 2019 Honda Civic I didn't own. Someone was using my identity. "Your mother's been committing crimes using your information," Carmen said. "But here's the problem. If we report this now, it triggers investigations that take months. You don't have months before the February 25th hearing. We have to be strategic. Over the next week, every day brought a new attack. February 16th. I applied for 3 apartments, all rejected. Credit check showed outstanding debts. February 17th. Emergency Medicaid application for Tyler rejected. Income information doesn't match records. February 18th. My old dental office called. They were reporting my termination as voluntary resignation, not firing. That killed my unemployment benefits. February 19th. Tyler's preschool called with concerns about releasing his records. My mother had called, pretending to be from CPS. February 20th. Tyler's pediatrician's office suddenly unable to schedule follow-up appointments for the next 8 weeks. Every door was closing. Every system was being weaponized against me. That night, Tyler woke up crying. His arm was hurting worse than usual. The scar tissue was pulling tighter. "Why does it keep getting worse?" he asked. "Is it because I was bad?" "No, baby, it's not your fault. You just need surgery, and we'll get you surgery soon." Grandpa could help. Why won't he help? I didn't know how to explain to a 3.5-year-old that his grandfather was a monster. After Tyler fell back asleep, I measured his range of motion with a dollar store protractor. 78 degrees. It had been 85 degrees 2 weeks ago. He was getting worse. Fast. At 8:33 p.m., I got a text from an unknown number. "You can end this any time. Sign the custody papers. We'll pay for Tyler's surgery. He doesn't need to suffer because you're stubborn." At 11:47 p.m., exactly 2 weeks after the fire, someone knocked on the motel door. I looked through the peephole. "Police officer." I opened the door with the chain still on. "Yes?" "Welfare check, ma'am." Dennis Jordan called, concerned about his grandson living in a motel. The officer was professional. He looked at Tyler sleeping, at the clean room, and wrote in his notebook, "Everything looks fine, just doing my job." But I knew that report would go to CPS, one more mark against me. As the officer left, he paused. "Your father used to work in insurance, right? I processed a claim with him once. He's good at knowing how systems work. Real good. You be careful." After he was gone, I sat on the motel bed and realized something. My father wasn't just attacking me, he was attacking every system I might use for help. Banks, medical care, housing, employment, legal aid, social services. He was isolating me completely. And it was working. 3 days later, everything got worse. On February 23rd, I spent 45 minutes on hold with the insurance company, getting transferred between departments, before finally reaching a supervisor. "Mrs. Bennett, I see here that Dennis Jordan filed a contestation of your primary beneficiary claim on February 9th. She said, "He's alleging that you're experiencing diminished capacity due to trauma and grief. We have to investigate these claims thoroughly." "I'm functioning fine," I said. "This is manipulation." "That may be true, but we have legal obligations, especially when there's evidence of housing instability, loss of employment, and an active CPS investigation." "How long does this investigation take?" 60 to 90 days. Tyler's surgery deadline was early June, less than 4 months away. The supervisor's voice dropped. "Mrs. Bennett, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but Dennis Jordan has called us 4 times in the past 2 weeks. He's very familiar with insurance protocols. Someone here knows him personally." After I hung up, I sat in the motel parking lot and cried for the first time since the fire. The next day, February 24th, the day before the custody hearing, my phone rang. My mother. "Laura, honey, we need to talk before tomorrow's hearing. Can we meet?" Against every instinct, I agreed. Public place. A coffee shop. They arrived looking respectable. Concerned. My father pulled out a checkbook. "We want to help," he said. "Tyler needs surgery. We'll pay for it. Today, right now, $12,300. He slid the checkbook across the table. But you need to sign the temporary custody agreement, just while you get back on your feet. 6 months. We handle Tyler's medical care, you focus on recovery. My mother reached across. Sweetheart, we're not trying to take him forever. We're trying to help him now. He's in pain. How much longer can you watch him suffer? Tyler was at the next table, coloring with crayons the waitress had given him, favoring his good arm. I looked at the custody agreement. 6 pages of dense legal text. On page 4, buried in section 7b, in the event of medical, financial, or behavioral concerns during temporary custody period, guardians reserve right to petition for extension or permanent placement pending court review. This says you can extend it indefinitely, I said. That's standard language, my father said. Protective clause. Won't be used. I looked up. You're lying. You've been lying about everything. My father's face went cold. We're offering to save your son's arm. But if you want to play games, fine. See you in court tomorrow. They left. Tyler came back to the table. Who was that? No one important, baby. That night, back at the motel, Tyler couldn't straighten his arm at all anymore. He dropped Hoppy and couldn't reach down to pick him up with his left arm. I helped him, then went to the bathroom and slid down the wall crying. What kind of mother was I? He was 3.5 years old. He didn't understand legal systems or custody battles. He just knew his arm hurt and I wasn't fixing it. My parents could fix it. Right now, today. And I was saying no because of what? Pride? Fear? What if I was wrong? What if I was hurting him by fighting them? My phone buzzed. Text from Carmen. Don't sign anything. I found something. Call me now. I called from the payphone outside. Cell phone was dead. Couldn't afford to charge it. I found court records, Carmen said. Dennis and Pauline filed for custody of another child 8 years ago. Pauline's sister's daughter. Same pattern. They got temporary custody. It became permanent. The mother never got her back. My hands went numb. What? Case number FC-2018-8821. Stephanie Hart, that's Pauline's younger sister. She had drug problems, lost her job, was living in her car. They filed for emergency custody of her daughter Claire. Got it. Stephanie went to rehab, got clean, got a job, filed to get Claire back. But by then, Dennis and Pauline had documented 18 months of stability. Judge ruled it would be disruptive to move her. Stephanie's parental rights were terminated. She hasn't seen her daughter in 6 years. Where's Claire now? Still with Dennis and Pauline. She's 12. And Laura. There's a note in the file about Claire's college fund, set up by Stephanie's mother before she died. $130,000. Controlled by Claire's legal guardians. Want to guess who has access to that money? The payphone's time ran out. I fed in more quarters. They've done this before, I whispered. Yes. And they'll do it again unless we stop them. The next morning, February 25th, the day of the custody hearing, I dressed Tyler in his cleanest clothes. He asked where we were going. To talk to a judge. What's a judge? Someone who helps families. Ruth drove us to the courthouse. My parents were already there with their lawyer, a man in an expensive suit. Tyler saw them and waved. Grandma! He didn't understand. He still loved them. He was 3.5 years old. It broke my heart. My father's lawyer approached Carmen in the hallway. Ms. Reyes, my clients would like to make one final offer before we go before the judge. We went into a conference room. The clock showed 1:30 p.m. The hearing was at 2 p.m. My clients will withdraw the guardianship petition and pay for Tyler's complete medical care, the lawyer said. In exchange, Laura drops any legal action regarding the life insurance and signs a document stating Dennis was added as beneficiary with her knowledge and consent. Carmen leaned back. Or we go before the judge and present evidence of identity theft, fraud, racist abuse, predatory financial manipulation, and a pattern of this behavior with another child. The lawyer's face twitched. You're bluffing. Try me. Mrs. Bennett, the lawyer said, turning to me. Your son needs surgery that costs $12,000. My clients are offering to provide that immediately. The alternative is a hearing where a judge examines your current circumstances versus my client's stable household. I've read the filings. It's not going to go well for you. I looked at Carmen. She met my eyes and gave the smallest shake of her head. I want to see Tyler before I decide, I said. I went to the hallway. Tyler was with a child services worker drawing. He showed me the picture, stick figures. Mommy, Tyler, Daddy with angel wings, and two other figures. Grandma and Grandpa, he said, when they help us. The worker said quietly, he's been asking for them. He doesn't understand why they won't visit. If I fought and lost, Tyler went to them and thought Mommy gave him away. If I took the deal, I lost everything, but he got surgery. I looked at Tyler's arm, permanently damaged if I chose wrong. I need 5 minutes, I said. But I didn't get 5 minutes, because that's when Carmen came out of the conference room, her face lit up like Christmas. Laura, she said, Ruth just called. You need to hear this. Ruth had spent the last week making calls. She had friends everywhere. Banking, insurance, county records, police department. And she'd found something. Carmen put her phone on speaker in the courthouse hallway. Ruth's voice came through. I got bank statements, Ruth said. Dennis has 3 high-interest loans totaling $85,000. One's from a hard money lender. That's loan shark territory. He's 2 months behind on payments. Carmen was already typing notes. Go on. Pauline's been accessing citizen records she has no business looking at. 47 different people in 6 months, including Laura. 8 times. And I talked to Stephanie, Pauline's sister, the one who lost custody of Claire. She'll testify. She'll tell the judge everything. Through the courthouse window, I could see my father in the conference room, checking his watch. Confident. He had no idea what was coming. Carmen hung up and looked at me. We're not taking that deal. We're going into that courtroom and we're going to bury them. But the hearing, trust me. At 2 p.m. we entered the courtroom, Judge Sullivan presiding. My parents sat with their lawyer, looking calm. Carmen stood. Your Honor, we've uncovered evidence of criminal activity relevant to this case. We request a 2-week continuance to allow authorities to investigate before proceeding with custody determination. My father's lawyer objected immediately. Judge Sullivan held up a hand and reviewed Carmen's preliminary evidence summary. Her face went hard. This is concerning. Continuance granted. March 11th, same time. CPS will maintain current supervision status. No change to custody pending investigation. Outside the courthouse, my father grabbed my arm. His lawyer wasn't there. You're making a mistake, he hissed. Tyler's running out of time. We can still help him. But not if you do this. I pulled my arm away. You taught me something, Dad. You taught me that the person with the better paperwork wins. So I'm getting better paperwork. His face went white. Over the next 2 weeks, Ruth's network delivered. Her bank friend confirmed. Dennis had gambling debts to a loan shark named Vincent Cruz. $85,200. 2 months behind. Her county friend confirmed. Pauline's user ID showed suspicious activity, multiple address changes, document accesses for people unrelated to her job duties. Her insurance friend confirmed. Dennis's college roommate Brad Carter worked as claims supervisor at United Benefit Life. That was a conflict of interest the company hadn't disclosed. On March 1st, I met Stephanie Hart. She was 34, living alone, working at a grocery store. She hadn't seen her daughter in 6 years. They knew exactly what they were doing, she told me. Every time I'd get close to stability, something would happen. Apartment application rejected. Job offer rescinded. Car accident. Except I wasn't driving. But it went on my record as at fault. She showed me denied visitation requests. 23 of them. Letters to Claire, returned unopened. The worst part? Stephanie said. Claire's college fund. My mother set it up. $130,000. It's supposed to be untouchable until Claire's 18. But I've heard things. Dennis has friends in financial planning. I think he's accessing it somehow. Can you testify? I asked. I'll testify, she said. I want everyone to know what they did to me, so they can't do it to you. On March 3rd, Carmen's forensic document examiner delivered his analysis. The life insurance beneficiary form from December 2023, the one with my signature, was a forgery. Dr. Felix Brennan pointed to the screen. See the hesitation marks? Someone copied Ms. Jordan's signature slowly, carefully. A genuine signature is fluid. This one has stops and starts. But the smoking gun was the paper itself. The manufacturer watermark didn't exist until January 2024, he said. This document is dated December 2023. It's physically impossible. Carmen smiled coldly. Dennis Jordan backdated a forged document and used it to commit insurance fraud. That's a federal crime, Dr. Brennan said. Tyler's condition kept getting worse. March 5th, range of motion down to 69 degrees. March 8th, 66 degrees. He couldn't dress himself anymore. He dropped things constantly. He cried from pain at night. Mommy, when I'm older, will my arm work like other kids? He asked one night. Yes, baby. We're going to fix it. What if we can't? What if I'm always broken? You're not broken. You're healing. Daddy would fix it. Daddy fixed everything. I documented everything. Photos every 3 days showing increasing contracture. Measurements declining. His frustration and pain. And I waited. On March 8th, the insurance company emailed. Investigation extended another 30 days. Projected resolution April 5th. If insurance didn't clear until April 5th, and we couldn't schedule surgery immediately, we might miss the May deadline. Tyler's arm was running out of time. My father was getting desperate too. Ruth saw the loan shark's car at their house again on March 9th. Longer visit. Loud voices. March 10th. Pauline was seen crying at work, her supervisor talking to her seriously. The county was doing an internal review. Everything was closing in on them. And then my father made a mistake. March 10th, 11:52 p.m. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Lara. My father's voice shaky. We need to talk. Not as adversaries, as family. Tyler's running out of time. So am I. Please, can we meet? Just us. No lawyers. I looked at Carmen, who was staying at Ruth's house with me and Tyler. She nodded and mouthed, We can use this. Okay, I said. Where? We met at a public park on March 30th at 11 a.m. Carmen's detective friend had agreed to help. They wired me with a recording device. I sat on a park bench 50 yards from a surveillance van. Tyler was safe with Ruth at her house. My father arrived looking haggard. He'd lost weight, dark circles under his eyes. Thanks for meeting me, he said. You said we needed to talk. He sat down. For a minute, he didn't speak. Before I sign anything, I said carefully, I need to understand. The insurance money. Why do you need it so badly? Lara, I don't need to explain my financial. Yes, you do. Because if I'm giving up my rights and Tyler's surgery money, I deserve to know why. Long pause. I made some mistakes. Some investments that didn't pan out. Some debts that got complicated. Gambling? He looked at me sharply. How did you— Dad, I'm not stupid. Why do you need James's insurance money? I have obligations, he said finally. People I owe money to. Important people who don't accept excuses. How much? $85,000. My blood went cold. And you were going to use my dead husband's life insurance to pay your gambling debts? I was going to pay it back. With the full amount, I could clear the debts, pay back Claire's college fund. He stopped, realized what he'd just said. You used Claire's college fund, I said. Stephanie's daughter. The child you took from her mother. I borrowed it, he said defensively. I was going to pay it back. How much did you take? 38,000. But with the insurance money, I'd replace it all. No one would ever know. The detective in the van was getting everything. And Pauline? I asked. Did she help you? She was trying to help me survive. The address changes, the records access. She was just doing what I asked. You asked her to commit crimes for you. To help me. His voice rose. Everything I did was to survive. When James died, I saw a way out. $250,000. Enough to clear my debts. Pay back Claire's fund. Start over. But I needed access. So you rejected your grandson to make me desperate. I rejected him because he's a complication I don't have time for. His voice went cold again. If we get custody, we control the insurance through guardianship. It's clean. Legal. And Tyler's surgery? Eventually. Once the insurance cleared, I wasn't trying to hurt him. I was trying to save myself. Dad, one more question. Have you done this before? With Stephanie? With Claire? Very quietly. Claire's fund was there. Her mother wasn't going to get her back anyway. I just used what was available. In the surveillance van, the detective gave a thumbs up. They had everything. Thank you for being honest, I said. I stood up to leave. My father grabbed my wrist. Laura, wait. If you turn me in, Tyler gets nothing. You can't afford the surgery, he'll... Dennis Jordan, you're under arrest. The detective stepped out from behind a tree. 2 uniformed officers appeared from the van. You're under arrest for insurance fraud, identity theft, embezzlement from a minor's trust, and conspiracy to commit fraud. My father's face went white as they read him his Miranda rights. You set me up. I'm your father. You set yourself up? I said. I just asked questions. As they walked him to the police car, he kept yelling, Laura, Tyler needs that surgery. If I'm arrested, who's going to help you? You'll lose him. I watched the police car drive away. Then I sat down on the bench and cried. Not from sadness, from relief. Carmen appeared beside me. You did it. That recording. They have everything they need. What happens now? Now? Carmen smiled. Now we watch their house of cards collapse. That afternoon, I was sitting at Ruth's kitchen table when Carmen got a call. She listened, then hung up and looked at me. Pauline just walked into the police station, she said. She's asking for a deal. She wants to confess everything if they'll give her leniency. What did she confess to? Everything. The identity theft, the forged documents, the CPS report. All of it. She said she knew it was wrong, but she was afraid. Afraid of losing their house. Afraid of the loan shark. Afraid of Dennis. Carmen pulled out her phone and showed me a statement Pauline had given to police. That night when we turned away Tyler, when I saw his little burned arm and we said those things, that wasn't fear. That was evil. And I can't live with it. I can't look at Claire, my niece who we took from her mother, and pretend we're good people. She's testifying against Dennis, Carmen said, in exchange for reduced charges. The custody hearing was scheduled for March 31st, the next day. Emergency session with Dennis in jail. But at 1 p.m. on March 31st, an hour before the hearing, Pauline's lawyer contacted Carmen. Mrs. Jordan is withdrawing as co-petitioner for guardianship. She states Tyler belongs with his mother. At 2 p.m., we stood before Judge Sullivan. Dennis was in jail, appearing via video link in an orange jumpsuit. Pauline sat in the courtroom, looking broken. Judge Sullivan reviewed the evidence. Dennis's arrest. Pauline's confession. The recorded admission, the forgery analysis, Stephanie's testimony about the pattern of behavior. Based on evidence presented, it's clear the guardianship petition was filed under fraudulent pretenses as part of a scheme to access insurance funds, Judge Sullivan said. Custody remains with biological mother Laura Bennett. Emergency restraining order granted. Dennis and Pauline Jordan are prohibited from contact with the minor child or mother. CPS case closed with finding of false report. The gavel came down. I'd won, but Tyler still needed surgery, and we had 5 days to make it happen. The insurance company called me directly on April 2nd. Mrs. Bennett, with Mr. Jordan's arrest and the forgery evidence, we're expediting your claim. Full payout of $250,000 will be released within 72 hours. April 5th. The check arrived. I went to the bank, hands shaking, deposited it. This is a significant deposit, the teller said. You'll want to speak with a financial advisor? I need $12,300 in a cashier's check, I interrupted. Made out to St. Luke's Medical Center, Pediatric Surgery Department, today. 20 minutes later, I walked out with the check. I called the hospital from the parking lot. This is Laura Bennett. I'm ready to schedule my son's surgery. We have an opening April 20th with Dr. Reynolds. That's within your window. Can we book it? I started crying. Yes. Yes. Book it. Tyler was in the car with Ruth. When I got back in, he looked at me. Mommy, why are you crying? Because you're getting your surgery, baby. We have a date, April 20th. Your arm's going to be fixed. He smiled, the first real smile I'd seen in months. Really? Really? Over the next 2 weeks, the legal system moved fast with guilty pleas. April 10th. Dennis pleaded guilty to insurance fraud, identity theft, embezzlement from a minor's trust, forgery, and filing a false CPS report. In exchange for cooperation, sentencing recommendation, 6 to 8 years, eligible for parole in 4. Pauline pleaded guilty to identity theft, embezzlement, and falsifying county records. Sentencing recommendation, 3 years, eligible in 2. April 12th. Carmen filed a civil suit on my behalf. With criminal convictions on record, the case moved at lightning speed. Judge Carter reviewed the evidence and awarded me $180,000 in damages. Dennis and Pauline's assets would be liquidated. Their house, retirement accounts, cars, everything. Your crimes harmed your family in ways that can't be measured in money or time, Judge Carter said to them via video link. You weaponized the systems meant to protect children. You deserve every consequence coming to you. Permanent restraining order. No contact with Laura or Tyler until Tyler's 18th birthday, July 15th, 2043. On April 15th, I got a call from Stephanie. I filed for custody review of Claire, she said. With Dennis and Pauline going to prison, the judge is ordering Claire into counseling and gradual reintroduction to me. It's not guaranteed, but it's a chance. The first one I've had in 6 years. I'm so glad, I said. Laura? Thank you for fighting them, for exposing them. You didn't just save your son. You gave me hope of getting mine back. Local news covered the story. Retired insurance adjuster sentenced in scheme to defraud daughter and grandson. The community was shocked. My parents' friends disappeared. Their church removed my father from the deacons list. Everything they'd built on lies came crashing down. On April 19th, the night before Tyler's surgery, he asked me a question. Mommy, when my arm is fixed, will I be like other kids? Baby, you're already like other kids. You're smart and funny and kind. But yes, surgery will help your arm work better. Good, because I want to play baseball like Daddy did. James had played in a summer softball league. Tyler remembered. You'll play baseball, baby, I promise. That night, I found a letter that had been delivered to our new apartment, A 2-bedroom place I'd rented with the insurance money. It was from Pauline at county jail. I almost threw it away. Ruth, who was staying with us, said, "Read it. You don't have to forgive her, but you might need to hear what she says." I read it. "Laura, when you were born, I promised myself I'd be a better mother than mine was. I'd protect you, support you, love you unconditionally. And for a while, I did. But somewhere along the way, I became someone who valued money and status over people, over you, over Tyler. I watched you stand on our porch holding your burned baby, and I closed the door. I will spend the rest of my life seeing that image. I can't take it back. I can only tell you the truth. You deserved better parents. Tyler deserved better grandparents. And I'm glad you fought back. I'm glad you won. Because if you hadn't, we would have destroyed you both." I put the letter down. Ruth looked at me. "What do you want to do?" she asked. "I want to focus on tomorrow," I said. "Tyler's surgery. That's what matters." That night, I tucked Tyler into bed. His arm was bandaged, contractured, useless. But in less than 24 hours, Dr. Reynolds would fix it. "Good night, baby," I whispered. "Mommy? Yeah? Are you scared?" "A little, are you?" "A little, but you'll be there when I wake up, right?" "I'll be right there, I promise." He fell asleep holding Hoppy, the rabbit that had survived the fire, and I sat in the living room, looking at everything we'd fought for. This apartment, his surgery scheduled, the money to rebuild our lives. 82 days ago, I'd stood on my parents' porch with nothing. Tomorrow, my son would wake up from surgery with his future back. We'd won. April 20th, 2026. St. Luke's Medical Center, 6 a.m. Tyler was scared but trying to be brave. Dr. Reynolds knelt down to his level. "Tyler, we're going to fix your arm today. When you wake up, it's going to hurt for a little while. But then it'll work so much better. Okay? Will I be able to play baseball?" Dr. Reynolds smiled. "Yes, buddy, you'll be able to play baseball." They let Tyler bring Hoppy into the pre-op area. When the anesthesiologist came to take him back, Tyler looked at me. "Mommy, will you hold Hoppy for me?" "Of course, baby." "Don't let him get lost." "I won't, I promise." They wheeled him away. I sat in the waiting room with Ruth, clutching a singed stuffed rabbit, and waited. 4 hours later, Dr. Reynolds came out. "Surgery went perfectly," he said. "We released all the scar tissue, did skin grafts where needed, restored full range of motion. He'll need physical therapy and careful wound care, but prognosis is excellent. In a year with proper care, you'll barely be able to tell anything happened. Functionally, he should have near normal mobility." I started crying. Ruth hugged me. 30 minutes later, they brought Tyler out, groggy from anesthesia, bandaged but smiling. "Mommy, did they fix it?" "Yes, baby, they fixed it." "Can I play baseball now?" "Soon, baby. So soon." He fell back asleep. I sat beside his bed, holding his good hand, and watched him breathe. My son. Safe. Healing. His future restored. 2 days later, the sentencing hearings happened. I chose not to attend. I was at the hospital with Tyler during his recovery, but Carmen went and reported back. Dennis got 7 years in state prison. Pauline got 3 years. In a statement read by prosecutors, I'd written, "I hope my parents' incarceration gives them time to reflect on the damage they caused. More importantly, I hope it sends a message that family doesn't excuse criminal behavior, and that children and their parents deserve protection from predators, even when those predators are grandparents." Carmen told me Dennis had remained silent during sentencing. No apology. No remorse. Pauline had cried and said, "I'm sorry, it's inadequate, but it's true." They were taken to separate facilities. Their house was sold. The proceeds went to Restoring Claire's College Fund, restitution to me for the fraudulent loans, repayment to the county for Pauline's embezzlement, and Dennis's court costs. They lost everything. On April 25th, Tyler was discharged from the hospital. We went home to our apartment, our real home, the one they couldn't touch. I helped Tyler into bed. His arm was bandaged, but underneath, Dr. Reynolds had said, the tissue was healing properly. "Mommy?" Tyler asked as I tucked him in. "Yeah, baby?" "When I'm bigger, can I be like Daddy? Good at fixing things?" I smiled. "Baby, you already are." That night, after Tyler fell asleep, I sat on the couch and thought about everything that had happened. 89 days ago, James died. 88 days ago, my parents slammed the door on their burned grandson. Today, Tyler was healing in his own bed, in our own home, with his future secured. I thought about writing to Pauline, maybe someday, but not yet. I thought about Dennis in prison. I felt nothing, just emptiness where a father used to be. Mostly, I thought about Tyler, about how he'd asked if he was broken, about how he'd wanted his grandparents to help him, not understanding they were the ones trying to break him. My job now was to make sure he never felt broken again, to make sure he grew up knowing that when someone tried to weaponize his own body against his mother, she fought back with everything she had. And she won. April 26th, 2026. 89 days after the fire. Tyler's asleep in the next room, his arm properly bandaged and healing. The pain medication keeps him comfortable. In a few weeks, he'll start physical therapy again, the right kind this time, the kind that actually helps. I'm sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea, looking at a folder Ruth put together. Every piece of evidence, every document, every receipt that destroyed my parents' scheme. There's a timeline she made. It starts with Tyler's birth on July 15th, 2022. My father wasn't waiting 3.5 years for the fire. He was waiting 3.5 years for any disaster. The fire was just the first one big enough to use. I think about calling Stephanie to check on her progress with Claire, but it's late. I'll call tomorrow. I think about the insurance money. $250,000 minus Tyler's surgery costs and legal fees. Still enough to rebuild, to give Tyler a future, to make sure we're never vulnerable like that again. I think about my mother's letter, the apology that came too late. Maybe someday I'll write back. Maybe I'll find a way to forgive her, not for her sake, but for mine. But not today. Today, I'm just a mother who fought for her son and won. I pull out my journal, something my therapist suggested, and write. April 26th, 2026. Tyler asked me once if bad people always get punished. I told him the truth. Not always, but sometimes. And sometimes, you don't need revenge. You just need your son to be safe, healthy, and loved. My parents are in prison. They'll be there for years. The house they tried to keep by destroying us is being sold to pay their debts. The money they schemed for is going to rebuild the lives they tried to ruin. 3 months ago, I stood on their porch holding my burned child, and they slammed the door. Tonight, I'm tucking him into his own bed, in our own home, with his future secured. They taught me something they never intended. That a mother's love is stronger than any scheme, any greed, any hate. We won, and they lost everything. I close the journal and go check on Tyler one more time. He's sleeping peacefully, Hoppy tucked under his good arm. His chest rises and falls steadily. No nightmares tonight. I adjust his blanket and kiss his forehead. "We made it, baby," I whisper. "We're safe now." Tomorrow, Ruth is coming over for breakfast. Next week, Tyler starts kindergarten, delayed from the fall, but the school understood. In a month, he'll have his first post-surgery follow-up, and Dr. Reynolds expects excellent results. In 6 months, Stephanie might have her first unsupervised visit with Claire. In 4 years, my father will be eligible for parole. I'll be there at the hearing to make sure the parole board knows exactly what he did. Every detail, every manipulation, every time he chose money over his grandson's health. In 15 years, Tyler will turn 18 and the restraining order will expire. He'll be old enough to decide for himself if he wants contact with his grandparents. I already know what he'll choose. Because I'll raise him to understand that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up, who fights for you, who chooses you every single day. Ruth showed up. Carmen showed up. Even Stephanie, a stranger who'd lost her own daughter to the same predators, showed up to help us. My parents slammed the door. That's the difference. I go back to the living room and look at the framed photo on the mantel. James and Tyler at the park. Summer 2025. James is lifting Tyler onto his shoulders. Tyler's laughing. James is smiling. "We did it, James," I say softly. "Tyler's going to be okay. He's going to play baseball, just like you. He's going to have the life you wanted for him." My phone buzzes. Text from Ruth. "How's he doing?" I smile and type back. "He's healing." We both are. Outside, the city is quiet. It's late April, spring in full bloom. Through the window, I can see the parking lot of our apartment complex, the playground where Tyler will play once his arm is healed, the normal life we're going to build. I think about that night on my parents' porch. Tyler crying in pain, the door slamming, Ruth's voice calling us inside. If someone had told me then that 89 days later we'd be here, Tyler healing, parents in prison, future secured, I wouldn't have believed them. But we made it. And the only way we made it was because they underestimated something fundamental. A mother protecting her child is the most dangerous thing in the world, because she doesn't fight for herself. She fights for someone who can't fight back. And that makes her relentless. My father thought he could use Tyler's pain as leverage. He thought if Tyler suffered enough, I'd sign anything. He was wrong. Every day Tyler's arm got worse was another day of evidence, another measurement, another photograph, another mark against them. They built a trap for me out of my son's suffering. I turned their trap into their prison. That's the thing about predators who use the system as a weapon. They forget the system also keeps records, makes documentation, leaves trails. And when those trails all lead back to you, when the forged signatures and the false CPS reports and the embezzled money and the stolen identities all point to the same two people, the system stops being your weapon. It becomes your cage. I finish my tea and rinse the cup. Tomorrow's a new day. Tyler has a follow-up appointment in the afternoon, and I want to take him to the park first if he's feeling up to it. Just to sit in the sun, to be normal. Before I go to bed, I check on him one more time. He's rolled onto his side, arm carefully positioned on a pillow like the nurse showed us. His face is peaceful. No pain lines, no fear. Just a kid healing. I close his door softly and go to my own room. On my nightstand is the business card Carmen gave me. She said if I ever wanted to talk about my case publicly, to help other parents facing family predators, she knew people who could amplify the story. Maybe someday, but not yet. For now, the only audience I need is the one that matters. Tyler, safe in his bed, dreaming of baseball and playgrounds and the future his grandparents tried to steal. I lie down and close my eyes. And for the first time in 89 days, I sleep through the night, because my son is safe. Because the people who tried to hurt him are behind bars. Because justice, real, documented, undeniable justice, won. And sometimes that has to be enough.